Purposeful Aging team is very happy to have you online this morning. Where I am is nice and bright. It's sunny. It's actually very hot.
Just carrying on.
Sorry? Yes, you're welcome, all adults, our loving caregivers, ladies and gentlemen, and all of you who have joined us this morning. My name is Dr. Christina Kadama, part of the Purposeful Aging team, and we have Christina Kadama in the Vyuma, Philippa Makanga and Darlene Monday in Australia to bring to you the session this morning. Purposeful Aging team is greatly honored to have you and to share with you our facilitator. We had Mr. Ronald Mukasa, part of the Enterprise Uganda team. Unfortunately, he has had some emergencies and he's unable to be with us this morning, but he has given us an equally able lady in name of Rosemary Mutyabule, whom I will ask to introduce more of herself a little bit later on for this session. Our topic today is maintaining and managing finances during retirement. I urge all of you to look up previous presentations, particularly done by Mr. Ronald Mukasa with us as Purposeful Aging, and also to pay a keen ear to Miss Rosemary Mutyabule this morning, who present to us maintaining and managing finances during retirement. Before I let Rosemary introduce herself, we have to Rosemary, for your attention, we have older adults, those above 60 years, and we have several caregivers, usually in two categories, those between 45 to 60 years, and those who can be even below 40, but do take care of the older adults. The last group of caregivers usually is 24 hours with the older adults. So they actually deeply get to know. They get to know
Ministry of Energy,
finances of the older adults and other intimate things about the older adults. In one of our sessions with Mr. Ali Bogere, the council, we got to know that they even got to the extent of knowing and even manipulating wills of the older adults. So these people are usually very helpful, but can also be known to go overboard. So as we think about maintaining and managing finances as and during retirement, we need to be aware of these two types of caregivers, as well as the older adults, which are all of the three are part of our business this morning. Members, I would kindly ask all of you to mute your mics as we go along. Only unmute when you've been asked to participate by voiceover. And today's session, there's a lady called Janet. Please keep your mic muted. Thank you. To go back to our introduction, today's session is going to be a bit different and it will be very involving from all of us. So please be attentive. At this juncture, I would like to ask Rosemary to say a little about herself, to tell us a little about herself, and also to go ahead and use the next 45 minutes to take us through maintaining and managing finances during our retirement. Rosemary, you're most welcome. Thank you so much for accepting to be with us this morning. The floor is yours, Rosemary.
All right, thank you so much, Christina and members of Purposeful Aging Group. I hope you hear me.
Yes,
Do you hear me?
We can hear you very well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. I know that you are in different places, but good morning and maybe good afternoon for those who are in different time zones. But it is really a pleasure for me to be here. I am stepping in for Ronald Mukasa, who is my colleague. So who is Rosemary? Rosemary is, I am a 55-year-old adult. I work with Enterprise Uganda. And what I do there, I do business advisory and consultancy. So we train and we mentor people to do business. And amongst the things we do, we also help people to plan for retirement. And so I am a mother of 5. I am very passionate about empowering people, especially women. I love to support women to be financially independent, but it starts with financial literacy. And so for me, this session, this was exciting. When Ronald asked me to step in for him, I said, why not? And I love that you even have a group, Purposeful Aging Group. I wish I would join it when I get into retirement in a few years from now. And so that's about me. I'm a mother of 5. I am married. Sorry?
Please join right now. You don't have to be 60.
Yes. Because this is one of the things, it's so important to be in groups like this. And so, yes, so I am a mother of 5. I have 5 children from 28 years to the youngest being 20 years. and I'm married to a dentist called Dr. Mutyabule. And yeah, so I'm happy to share. I'm a Christian woman as well. I love the Lord. And I love people. That is who Rosemary is. I also use my hands. So I have my side hustle. I'll share about what I do. Again, all that in preparation for retirement. So yeah, so this morning I just want to talk about maintaining and managing finances in retirement. So really, it's about financial wellness, how to live this life comfortably. And as Christina has said, I think that we have a fairly mixed group. So you have those over 60, we have over 40, then 40 to 60. But essentially, this message is relevant for everybody, as long as you're living. So for those who still have a lot of time, there are lessons to learn from it. For those who are already advanced, again, there's still a lot to learn. And usually such messages are not just for us here on the forum, but it's for you to share with family members as well, because knowledge is power. When you get to know some of these lessons, then there are things that you avoid. And so, yes, so I had shared, I don't know whether, just confirm to me that you received a case study that I shared, Gordon's story. And maybe by show of hands, who was able to, Christina, did you share that Gordon's case study?
Rosemary, I'm afraid this I received this morning, and I don't think we have really shared it.
Okay, so no problem. So I'll really not talk about Gordon's. It was really a case study of this person called Gordon, his journey into retirement, his entire life journey. But there were so many lessons to speak. So I still think that even after here, take time and just do it for yourself at leisure and look at that story and see where you resonate with that story, but also what lessons, they're very key lessons, behavioral changes that we need to be able to adopt, to be able to as we prepare for retirement. So I'll not look into that, but I urge that you take time and respond to the questions in it, study it, share it, discuss it at family level, discuss it with your children, discuss it with your colleagues or employees. It's
Trade Association.
Sorry?
I think it's someone who wasn't muted.
Okay.
In case you want to communicate to us, please put up your hand and we shall graciously ask you to communicate to all of us.
Okay, so Christina, do you want to allow me to share my slides, or I could even talk without sharing them? So what
You
do you
can
members
share. I think they've given you right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I now, yes. Yeah. Okay, let me do that. All right. So let's put into slideshow. All right. So allow me to also take off my camera just to enhance picture quality. To enhance internet quality. So we are talking about retirement, and this is already a purposeful aging group. And so it's my assumption that most of the members here are already in retirement. And so I'm sure we know what retirement is. So I won't really dwell much on that, but just to say that retirement is really, it is really moving from one thing, an active job, to another phase in our lives. And so retirement is not a stop in itself. It's not final, it's not an end. It's just that you've been in active service, you've been in an active job most of your younger life. And so by way of policy, or sometimes as a result of health, ill health, or maybe disability, there comes a time that you actually then can't continue to serve in that active job. And that is what retirement is. So retirement doesn't mean it is over. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that is the end. But so what is important then for us to note that as we talk about retirement, it is really moving from one engagement to another engagement. It is an opportunity for us to start something. So it is a beginning of another phase. And I just want to emphasize that, do you realize that we typically start work at around, say, let's say 25, that's when we get into employment. And so our law, at least the Ugandan law, the retirement age is 55. In some cases, I think it's 60. So it means you give about 30 years of your life. And so you work for 30 years. And then time comes that at 55 or at 60, there's now the legal requirement, the legal retirement. But do you know that at 55, you have another 30 years? So at retirement, you actually are just halfway. It's a mid-mark in your life. So meaning it is a mindset issue, because the social programming is that we think as I retire, it means I am ending. And so the fear sets in, and we don't know how to deal with this fear as we move into retirement. But we are here to say retirement is you're halfway through your active life. So you've just finished your first 25 or 30, but you have another 25 or 30 good years of continuing growing your finances. And so let's look at how that goes. Yes, so I share that statement that quote by Patrick that says retirement is a blank sheet of paper. It is a chance for you to redesign your life into something new and different. But that all is about mindset. And so what is mindset? It's the beliefs that, a set of beliefs that we have we've allowed our minds to accept about ourselves, about many things in our lives, including retirement. And so many people believe that retirement is an end. So when you enter with that mindset, a mindset that says, it's over, I'm no longer active, I'm no longer needed, life has ended. So when you enter with that mindset, your thought process influences your actions. Your mind, the things you allow in your, the beliefs you have shape how you think, and the thoughts that you keep reflecting on shape how you behave or how you act. And that's why in life, I have had the opportunity to interface with many people in retirement, and we've had both sides of it. People in retirement who are totally depressed and think life is over because the mindset said that. And so for me, I think it's important for us at this point to set that clear, that retirement is not an end in itself. However, that mindset that we have of fear and saying it's an end, it's because we need to ask this question. As you retire from something or from this job, you must have something to retire to. Now, for those who already have that sorted, that as I'm retiring from one thing, I am moving to something to retire to, then it becomes easier. But I know that many people have not thought through it. So retirement is kept in our subconscious. And so in your conscious, you're living life and spending and enjoying everything. And then lo and behold, retirement arrives and it's like a surprise. But we all know that as you sign that contract into this job, there is an end. But usually we put that at the back of our minds. And so I like that we have a group of you here who have said, yes, I sense that you have a positive mindset already, that you're saying, I have control over the next 30 years of my life. And so purposeful aging, how do I ensure that I age and I still can enjoy life, the life that I have lived the past 30 years? And so let me just share some of the fears. What makes us fear? What gives us the mindset where we are so afraid of retirement? It is almost taboo. You don't even talk about it. Even when it crosses your mind as an individual, you find yourself saying, let me not think about this thing, I'll get there, I'll deal with it when I get there. And so what are the biggest fears? So we need to be able to know them, to be able to confront them, and then to see how we can manage our finances and then therefore enjoy our life in retirement. Because retirement is it is a change. You're transitioning from one part of your life to the second part of your life. You are much older, you are much wiser. And so how then do you manage that transition? So some of the fears that we have, why do we fear retirement? The first thing we fear is the fear of running out of money. Now that comes because for some, your first 30 years have been years that are really, you haven't really seen much money, so to speak, So money has been coming in, and by the end of the month, you actually can't touch it. You don't know where is this money. I know you see your salary, you see your pay slip, but usually by the time the month ends, most of it is gone, even before the month ends. And so the biggest fear that we have of retirement is that fear of running out of money. And that's why financial literacy becomes a very critical skill set for all of us to know. And that's why I was saying, let's share this with our children so that they know, they understand money. They understand money, they understand how to grow, how to get money, how to keep money, and how to grow money. That is financial literacy. So when we have that well understood earlier in our lives, we behave differently, we make different decisions, and so retirement becomes easier. So I know that the majority of people who are so struck or totally hit by retirement and almost get into a depression, it is because of the fear of running out of money. Money is a key driver, but guess what? Money is also not all. I've also interfaced with, I have some friends who they're much older, and so they had these big jobs and money wasn't actually a problem. And so their jobs, they even have pension, they have medical, they have everything covered until death. But recently I visited one of them because I realized they were not picking my calls. I said, let me just travel. So I traveled to the north, to Lira, just to visit this friend who I know lost his wife earlier. And so he's in retirement and totally in a depression. So money wasn't a problem. So I get to him, I said, what exactly is happening, trying to encourage. And you guess what? So it is not really money. So I just want to demystify the issue of money. Yes, money is important, but money is not all. Because this particular person had a lot of money, big house, he just finished his big house, he has his pension that comes in and good amounts of money. However, he is lonely, no friends, no friends. And so we shall look at that later. And that's why I'm excited that there's a group of you who say we are together and we are purposefully aging. The second fear of retirement is the issue of our children. So financial security of our children. Many seniors, as we move towards retirement, we have this challenge today with a high unemployment rate. So over the years, we have invested in our children, we have educated them, probably taken them and they've gone through education. And then what happens? The children have no jobs. Our children are not leaving our homes. And so today it is common to find families where you are in retirement, but your 4 children all finished school. Some of them, they have failed to find jobs and they're looking for very high paying jobs which they can't find. So what are they doing? They are seated in the home. And so they are economic outpatients. They are our economic outpatients. What does that mean? They live off what you had planned for your retirement. And so because of this, we are finding that many parents, people are so scared of retirement because what do I do with this, the economic outpatients that I have that are living off me? And so as you're taking in, as you plan for your finances, it looks like you also have to plan for these children. Some of them are even getting married in your homes. Some of them, you have to buy them cars. You have to fuel the cars. You just have to maintain their lifestyle, the lifestyle that you introduced to them over the years. And so that has been found to be another big reason why we are so afraid of retirement. The other third one is, of course, the unrelenting black tax, the dependence. We have a lot of dependence beyond our nuclear family. With nucleus family, you find you also have an auntie's son, you have your own parents, you have your aunties and uncles, and so many of us are probably you are the shooting star in the clan, and so everybody in the clan looks up to you. And so because of this, retirement becomes such a big challenge and a fear for many. And then loss of identity. And this loss of identity, especially, I'm sorry to say, but especially for the men, it's a little easier on the women because over the years, many of you, by the time the career progression. So you enter as an officer, and over the years, as you go into 40s, you get into middle management. As you go into your 50s, you now get into the top. So many of us retire at the point where you are CEO or you're a deputy or you're somebody big. And so these titles they define who we are. And so the fear of losing, because of your title, you're recognized. When you go to church, you have the front bench. When you go for a function, you're ushered in. It doesn't matter. And actually, you don't even come in early because by virtue of your title, you first let everybody else go in and you come in later and you're recognized. The MC must recognize you. And so those those are things that end up sitting very well in our egos, especially the male friends. And so the thought of getting into
for your pen.
losing the identity. And so that means it is important for us to separate who we are from what we do. The failure to separate that becomes such a big threat for many of us as we get into retirement. How do I introduce myself? That becomes a real concern. How do I introduce myself in a gathering, where I was previously known as so-and-so, honorable so-and-so, or CEO or MD. So suddenly, how can it be that I'm just saying I am a farmer or I am retired? So that is one of the issues. And then, of course, loss of purpose. Again, tied to identity. So many people can't imagine themselves without the current jobs that they're holding. Others just can't imagine themselves. I mean, what do? I have lived in a city. I've lived in Jinja all my life. I've lived in Kampala all my life. What now? What do I do? What else can I do? Because for all your 30 years that you've given to this job, you have given it your all, and that you feel that that's all that you can do. You feel that that's my purpose. So when this job ends, how do I what purpose can I have? And so those 5 points that I've talked about, those actually are areas that we must deal with when we enter into retirement for us to enjoy our retirement. And so I think we'll take questions at the end. I'll just run through and then we can have questions. So again, I'm skipping that case study because we were not able to look at it. But just to say that, and so these fears of retirement are what are the ones that then build into a negative mindset, a mindset of fear. And so what that does, it disempowers you from taking control of what is ahead of you. So it is important that as we enter retirement, as we walk through retirement, we must have a mindset shift from fear of these 5 things that we have allowed to believe. We have meditated on these fears and we have believed them, and there is evidence. And so that paralyzes us and moves us into a victim mentality. And so it's important that we have a mindset shift from fear to power, to control, to taking control of your next 30 years, 30 useful years of your life. And so rather than asking a question, will this money last? You know, the first fear of running out of money, will this money last? Instead, I should be able to say, how can I make the most of what I have? That's the mindset that we need to have as we enter into retirement. Being positive, being in control, and realizing that at retirement, I am just halfway through my life. God allowing you have another good 30 years. And so what can you do to make the most of what you have? And I think that's the conversation that we want to have today. So as we progress, I just also want to just touch a bit about the seasons in life. So we must realize God made it that way, that we have seasons in life. And so we have 3 phases. We have 3 seasons in life. The first season in life is, of course, from the time we are born up to the time when we go through school and finish school. That is a season of life in itself. And usually in that season of life, somebody else is taking responsibility of our sustenance, of our livelihood. So parents are taking care of our school fees. And so in this phase of our life, typically we don't earn money. Now, this unfortunately is the situation mostly here in Uganda, but I realize in other countries, as children go to school, but they are also encouraged. So the social programming here is wrong. We think that as long as a child is studying, they must focus on their studies. And so no distractions with things like part-time jobs or work. And so the children, we are programmed, all of us are programmed during that first phase of life to be recipients of money. And so whatever money I receive, I must spend. I come, as I go to school, I give a shopping list to my parents. They buy my requirements. They give me my pocket money, and that pocket money is supposed to see me through the entire term. And so we know that even when we're in school, as the term ends, if you have any surplus, you go to the canteen and spend it because you must come back home with 0. You went with, say, 100,000, you must come back with 0. And there are no questions asked because that is the programming. Our minds are programming. So we move with that mindset into the second phase of our lives, which is now you enter into the workforce. You are now starting at between 22 and say 30. We are entry level in our workplaces, but you came with a mindset of consumption. We have a consumptive mindset because that's what it was. Money comes in and money is for spending. Parents will not teach us to save of the money that we take to school. And I hope that we can change that mindset because those are now the beliefs. A mindset is beliefs. So the beliefs our children innocently move with from school into the workplace, into the next phase of life, the next phase of 22 to 54 years, you come with a mindset of actually money is for spending. Nobody has taught you about putting away, saving, and therefore investment. And so we get into the workplace and we get good jobs or whatever it is that you're doing, you find we have the consumptive behavior. We get money, we consume, we spend money. And so very little saving. And then any surplus, family now comes in. And so, of course, it's children, but you have the dependents that we are inheriting. And so life goes on. So the money comes in and the money goes out just as it comes. And so within there, that's our black tax. So you inherit all kinds of responsibilities. And the last thing that is in our mind for many is putting away, saving for a rainy day, saving for the next phase of our life, which is retirement. And boy, those 30 years run so quickly. Just not too many years ago, I was just entering employment at Uganda Investment Authority. Now I am at the exit point. I said I'm 55, so retirement, our retirement is 60, so it's really not far from here. But that time, the phase 2, between 22 and 54, remember, the mindset we have carried from first phase is eating on many of us here. And so we make a lot of money. And this is the season when we should be planting, the season of planting, the season of saving and investing, the season of putting away. But you know what? As the money, as you rise in the ranks in your employment, we find that as the salary increases, so does the expenditure. And so for many of us in that season, the net is not there. There is no net, there's no saving. I get a lot of money, but I'm also spending. And we justify it saying, but I have these relatives to take care. My children need to go to good schools. And so many of us live within our means, within that stage. And so it is no wonder that we are so afraid of the next stage, which is the retirement stage, because the retirement stage in itself has also phases. The first phase, we are at 55, we are at 60, 70. We are still fairly strong. We are energetic. We can start business. We can engage. But later stage of that retirement phase, over 75, then we are less energetic and we need to live off what we actually invested. And so we need to be aware of the 3 seasons of life. First season is dependence. Second season is the productive stage when we should be saving and investing. Now, if you're here, you're in 40s, the question is, what are you doing? What is there to show for your years of active work? The season in life where you're supposed to save the most, you're earning the most, physically, mentally, you are exerting and you're rewarded accordingly, and you should be saving and investing so that as you move into phase 3 of our life, which is the retirement age, you are comfortable, you have no fears, and you're saying, yes, I have done my best, and now I am going to make the most of what I was able to create in my productive stage. So for those who are under 40, I want you to challenge yourself and ask your question. I have been working so many years. What do I have to show for it? What are the assets that I've acquired in life? What are the relationships I have built in life? What are the networks that I have that are going to push me through my next phase in retirement? And so what is the purpose? What am I planning to do? We need to think about that. We need to move it from our subconscious now into our conscious to be thinking about what am I going to do after 55? Because life starts at 50. So at 55, you actually, some of us, we feel young. I feel probably 30. And indeed, I have so many years ahead of me. But it is sad for us to get to that point. And we are saying, now what am I going to do? These responsibilities. But we need to anticipate and prepare for them. So these are the 3 seasons in life. Is there a question from Jonah? Or can I continue? Okay. I hope we are still together, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we are, and we do not have any questions at the moment. So please continue.
Oh. All right, thank you. All right, and so those are the 3 seasons in life. So I just wanted to share, recently National Social Security Fund, NSSF, carried out a survey of the people who take their packages after retirement at the age of 55. And so the beneficiaries of their retirement packages. And so it's interesting to see some of, I just thought I should share some of the statistics. So the report reveals that education ranked the highest at 40% in terms of expenditure. So people who retire, who pick that package from NSSF, take their retirement package, and 40% of it goes into paying for school fees for their children, for their dependents. And like I said, because that burden that we are having, that the economic outpatients. So even into retirement, you find that we are, because our children haven't gotten jobs, we still take it as our responsibility. And so what do? We then take our retirement money and we are paying for masters. So you want the kids now go for masters and maybe even go for PhD as you find for something to do. Why? Because again, in our minds, to be successful, you have to be in employment. You have to be employed. But we don't realize there is creating your own job, being your own employer. And that is where we should be taking our children, so that we are not holding these children and they are becoming our burden into retirement. And so the statistics show 40% of what we take from our retirement already goes to school fees. The other goes into buying land and maybe improving your house. So many of us have not thought about shelter, because that becomes a key cost driver, in your retirement. If you don't have a house where you're living, it becomes, so we have people still paying rent or now scampering with your last retirement money to actually put up a house. So 34% of that goes into improving the house, etc. The other thing that the report of March 2021 says is that according to the report, there is a high dependency rate for beneficiaries over the age of 45. The majority of these groups still have major responsibilities, school fees, and then what I said, the economic outpatients. And so as a result, a lot of these people are now under pressure to remain in jobs. You've seen people trying to underdeclare their jobs, to say, no, there was an error. It's because you have a lot of burden as you, as a retire. And so you find that you have to find a job to keep afloat. And so you'll take the simplest job, but just to make sure that, well, my identity is still protected, but also you still have responsibilities. So the survey says that 6 out of 10 beneficiaries are still involved in active employment even after retirement and are collecting their full benefits and savings. Why? Because what else can I do? What other purpose is there for me outside this retirement? And so we still are in that active. And yet really, at 55, over 60, you should be able now to transition into something else and now pursue significance, pursue, giving back in a way. So you're living life, you're enjoying, you have your savings, you continue to invest, but now you move, your risk appetite should be lower. And so you move into other not highly risky ventures. We shall look at that a bit ahead. And so for me, this report just indicates that because of this, no wonder there's a lot of fear of retirement, because we still have a lot of burdens. And so these are decisions that we have to make as we move into retirement. What do we do about education? Now, some of this education is not even grandchildren, it is your own children. Some of us have gone into second families. So you have a second family where you have young children. And so you have the older set that finished their employment, but you have these young children, a family that you sired when you're a little older. And so you're struggling into retirement and you have this burden of dependence. So that's the black tax that continues to haunt us as we go ahead. And so that study also revealed that 80% of beneficiaries of NSSF who pick their retirement benefits use the entire benefits within 2 years. So after 2 years, you're back to square one, like you never worked, you're broke, and you're probably knocking on the doors of your children and friends and well-wishers to just support you through. And this is not a desirable situation. So I am glad and I'm proud of you, members of this Purposeful Aging Group, that you're able to come together and get to speak, to have a conversation on retirement, to make sure that we are not part of this statistic, but that we can live a more meaningful retirement. We can pursue excellence in retirement. We can explore new opportunities and be able to support one another to live a meaningful retirement. And so I just thought I should share 4 balls, I call them balls, that you need to keep your eyes on in retirement. So if we are to maintain and to manage our finances in retirement, what are some of the balls that we need to be looking at? And so the first one is, before we go into money, because you see, it is not right to limit retirement to having money, that if I have money, then retirement should be okay. The example I showed you counters that assertion. And so the first thing that we need to address as we are in retirement is the thing of time. And tied to time is purpose, because retirement gives us time. It means you move out of that structured 8 to 5 o'clock job, and in retirement, you have the power to manage your time. And so the question is, you have your 8 hours awake, and then you have the other 8 where you rest, and so we have 24 hours. And so the question is, with all this time in retirement, you need to still come up with a schedule of how do I manage my time. You must build purpose into your time. You must have relevance. And so with all this time, the question to you is, how am I managing my time? Am I using my time usefully? Have I identified a purpose? What in your next 30 years, what is the purpose that you have prepared for yourself? What are you doing with your time? How are you impacting lives around you? Because for the last 20 years, you are tied to this job that engages you, drains you, and you have no time to be able to do that which God put in your heart. Because in each of our hearts, God has put a purpose. We have a passion. There are things we are passionate about. What is it that we're doing? And so starting with simple things like how, reaching out to your immediate community. What is it that I'm doing in the community? What projects can I start in the community that serve the community but also give purpose to me? And so we need to be able to, and that comes from saying, this job that you've been having should not define who you are. And so we need to be able to come up with a new identity, a new purpose, and make sure we are relevant. I've seen many people in retirement say, let me go back to my home area. Some do farming, but in that they are also skilling the communities. Some have ended up putting up schools to educate the communities. So giving back to community as you make the money. So money becomes, it's not your sole driver, but it is that purpose, that giving back to community. That is that satisfaction that I've been able to give back to those around me. And so it is important that we define purpose. So that's my question to you. What are you doing? And within timing, how am I enhancing my skills? Continuous learning. Learning never ceases. For some of you might say, now I want to go into, say, baking. Go get a skill and start baking. Someone may say, I've been wanting to be a public speaker, but I don't know how to do it. I have a lot of experience. Go take a course on public communication, public speaking. And so continuous learning. So we must make sure that we clearly have our time well planned for, our purpose very clear, and that we are relevant in all, in what we do, maintaining relevance. And relevance comes from meeting the needs of the people around us. As you meet the needs of the people around us, you actually will be able to deal with the issue of funding, of financing, because as business is about solving problems. And so when I say relevance, I'm saying make yourself relevant. What problem can you solve in your society? As you solve that that problem, you get back value in terms of money, or you actually you find yourself getting into a business, solving a problem as society enjoys you, and they give you back value. You give value to them and they give back value to you. So that's number one. The second ball we need to keep our eyes on is our health. We all know, I mean, for those here over 60, you know that the energy levels are not as high as they were. And so one, we need to watch what we eat. And so I'm sure that in this group, you bring different speakers to talk about health, wellness, how to keep ourselves healthy, the things we can eat, the time we eat, all those things are important. So we need to have a conversation on healthy living, how to keep ourselves healthy, go for the regular medical examinations, but we also need to plan for medical insurance. Friends, as we now get into this phase of our life in retirement, matters of health are very important. So have you planned for your medical cover, your medical insurance? Do you go for regular medical checkups? And so we need to put away money. So I'm coming to budgeting. In your budget, you must budget for this health. Have you taken on a medical insurance scheme? Because and any emergency that may arise, but also long-term care for those who don't live in Uganda, but it's also now coming into Uganda, because today it may not be it may not be the most viable option for us to think I will retire into the village. Maybe now we need to organize for medical help so that you have your medical, and I like that you have caregivers. Caregivers, that is a cost. The caregivers are not volunteers. And so you need to plan for that long-term care. For the next 30 years, you are going to have somebody take care of you, especially in the last half of those 30 years. And so that must be planned for. So we need to make sure that our health is top on the agenda, that we are exercising. Either you do walks or you sign up in a health club, or as a group, you have your health program. Make sure we have health medical cover, and we also have life insurance. All those must be planned for if we are going to enjoy our retirement, okay? And then the third one is you need to keep your ball on the networks. Networking. So your networks are your net worth. Who are your friends? We need to build relationships. Now, for many of us over the years, those productive years, your active years of the seasons of planting, we didn't give much time to our spouses, especially. We probably hurt our spouses for some of us. We didn't give enough time to our children. We didn't give enough time to our friends, our workmates. And so this is the time to reconnect, to build relationships, but most importantly, relationship with your God. And so we need to make sure these relationships, we build them as we go. For the younger people, spend time. In your agenda, there must be time for networking, because these networks become very vital in retirement. The friends, the support system, the people that can hold your hand when you're weak, those who can pray with you, but also those who can continue to cheer you on and make you feel relevant. Because life is only enjoyable as long as you have onlookers, people around you who are actually your audience. And so your network becomes your audience, your network becomes your support system. So we must make sure that we spend time, we keep our eye on that, and that we are continuously moving out, having friends, and ensuring that we are maintaining and nurturing these networks. And then the last one, and deliberately I put money as the last ball, because usually we want to put money as the first thing. The last ball, which is equally important, is the issue of money. Now, as we go into retirement, remember that that is phase 3. So the question now goes, what do I have to show for phase 2, the productive stage of my life? What do I have to show for my phase 2? And so when we look at money, we need to look at first, as we go into retirement or in retirement, we need to assess our current financial situation. We need to review our incomes. So we need to go now into paper and pen to say, let me look at, so for the years that I've worked, all the years I've worked, now that the first income line, which is salary, has come to an end or is coming to an end, what do I have to replace that salary? If my salary was 5 million shillings a month, as retirement comes, as I enter into retirement, I need to assess my current financial situation. So my income, what do I have to replace that salary? And that is a question I throw to each one of you. What do you have? What does your income statement look like when you're now putting your personal financial statement? So the income line first was salary. Now salary, you're going to put a big line across salary. So salary was 5 million. So the question is, what is income source number 2? And that comes from what you did in phase 2. Where did you invest? What other income sources? So it could be that you have your pension coming. That is an income source. So pension, probably you're getting, say, maybe 4 million per month. That is good. Write that down. What is my other income? So if you've invested, then it could be that I put some money in unit trust. And so I have that income source. Write that income source. So every month I get, say, 1 million shillings from my unit trust funds. I put in some money, and so I put in some 100 million. Actually, to get 1 million per month, you should have put in about 100 million shillings. And so again, that's your question. It could be that you've put in, say, 20 million, and so you have some 200,000 coming from that. So you need to be able to touch base with what is your income and total and say, okay, so my income as I go into retirement, before retirement, I had salary of 5 million. Now in retirement, my income, having listed all my different income lines, equities. Maybe you have a business, you've bought shares in some stocks, you have shares in Umeme, how much is coming from that? All those should be listed down as your income. And so it could be that after listing, you now realize, okay, my income is 3.5 million. It is down from the 5 million that you had, okay? So this is my income. But it's also possible that you look at this income and it comes down to only 1 million. It's also a possibility. So depending on the decisions you made in the second phase of your life, that will influence how your income looks like in this third phase of retirement. So once you have assessed, so that is the first point, assess your income. Now, when you've assessed your income, the next thing we go to assessing your spending. Because before retirement, you had all these expenditures and you were surviving. Beyond salary, you had allowances coming from different maybe trips, you have allowances and, different engagements. And so you found that even though your salary was 5 million, at the end of the month, you probably have earned almost 10 million. And so your lifestyle was catered for. Now, in retirement, we're saying, what am I spending on? What are my incomes? If you're on board, if you're sitting on boards, that's also another income source. So describe the income line and how much is coming in per month. And then go to spending. What am I spending on? Because this is where we actually, because in retirement, you have more control now over your spending more than income. What am I saying? You may not have as much scope to make as much income in retirement, but you probably still have some income. Where you have control is on the spending, your expenditure. And so the question is, what am I spending? So itemize, what are those expenditures? Analyze your expenditure and write and put in categories, because in your spending, there are expenditures that are fixed or that are critical to your life. Write those. And those that are critical are those 4 balls I talked about. There must be something on your health. There must be something on your networking, a bit of giving, sharing, as you network, someone has lost a relative. It is important that you budget and have something like that. But also then there are those that are not so important. So you must analyze your expenditure and see which ones are critical to my life, which ones are important, but I could defer them. Which ones are not important? These are discretionary spendings that you can say, this, I may need to make a decision and cut on that. And so it is important that you identify which, in those 3 categories, what is critical in my spending, what is critical to my life, what is important, and what is not important. And then look at your spending and say, where am I spending my biggest expenditure? You could be surprised to find that 60% of your spending is on not important. And so you need to take decisions on that, ladies and gentlemen. And then next, saving. Even in retirement, we don't stop saving, ladies and gentlemen, we don't stop saving. So whatever income that you talked about, how much of that am I still putting away? The putting away must continue, because remember, life, you still have 30 years. So it is not enough to say, whatever I have now, this is it. I will only survive with a 3.5 and continue struggling to the end. No, you can still grow. There's an opportunity for you to still start saving and continue investing. But the investment portfolio will now, of course, be different, because you're now taking lesser risks. And so you're not going to go into the very engaging and very high risk and high return investments, but you still must find a way of saving and investing continuously, even in retirement. So you need to assess that, and then next, draw a budget. Ladies and gentlemen, a budget is such an important, it is a discipline, it is a very important tool that you must work in. So you must have your book or have your laptop, and a budget essentially is my income, my expenditure, because you're saying, having analyzed my income is 3.5 million. So now I must draw up a budget so that I am living within my means. One of the biggest things that brings us down in life, even in retirement, is spending beyond our means, because there is, of course, there's so much need around us. But remember, at the end of the day, you too must live comfortably. So it is you to decide, is it, do I want to live comfortably, or am I going to sacrifice my comfort and now take care of everybody around us? And so the budget then helps us. So you draw up a budget, but most importantly, follow your budget. Follow your budget. Make sure that in your budget, you've identified, this is what this is my income for that period. So make a monthly budget. You can even break it down to weekly, but monthly, and say, for this month, this is my budget. I am getting 3.5. This is what I'm spending on. And so you itemize, and those things that are not important. And as you do the budget, it will then prompt you to ask certain quick questions. Must I pay school fees for all these people? Because the budget clearly shows I can't afford it. And so these are decisions you may want to say to slow down, to cut down on the people you're helping. I also know that as we grow older, we are we are more generous, and we feel we want to help. But we must help with the knowledge of what our resources look like. Otherwise, that points us back to that statistic of NSF that says 80% of the beneficiaries are broke within 2 years. You don't want to fall in that. So the budget will help you. That is going to be your companion. So you have a Bible on one side, you have a budget on the other side. The budget controls you. It manages your lifestyle. And so it helps you to adopt a frugal lifestyle. Just to make sure that you can have longevity of your funds, to live and stretch within the funds that you have worked so hard to save. So watch your generosity, follow your budget, and that budget should be able to help you. The other one is the third one, as we look at money, managing money in retirement, is we need to diversify our investment portfolio, even in retirement. And so typically, most of us invest in real estate. So you have rental income as one of your incomes. You have, and then some of us invest in land. So you have some assets. And so you have land here, land there, land in the villages. So at this stage, careful as we invest. Let's put our money, let's have a balanced portfolio where you don't have so many of you may be asset rich. I have this land, I have my rent, my houses where I get rent. And so whatever it is you get there. But it is important that we have liquidity. We have liquidity, we have money, or we have assets that are easily convertible to cash. So you must have that balance. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And as you do that, adjust your risk. So let's now move from very high risk investments and now have those where you can easily convert. So if there's a medical emergency, you can easily draw that money or convert that asset into cash. And that's why, so have your land, but you see land, when you have land and you need quick money, it can take 2 months, it can take a year to sell that land. And so have some of your investments in land, have some maybe in real estate, have some in a business that generates your quick day-to-day, but also have some in near to cash, easily convertible. And that's why we have things like unit trust fund in Uganda, for instance. These are not taxed. And so you put your money there, unit trust, in 48 hours, you have your money. And so you have to make sure that you are able to manage your liquidity, that you're not caught in a situation where you have an emergency and you are stuck because you took all your benefits and bought these square miles of land and you have planted forests. Yes, that is a good investment, but that investment will not sort you out in your retirement as the needs come. Okay, you may find a health need, or it could be one of your economic outpatients need support. Liquidity becomes very critical. So what am I saying here? Diversify your investment portfolio. Have many baskets where you put your money. Have an emergency fund. And that emergency fund, put it in unit trust funds where you can access it easily. And so you continue to live a stress-free retirement, because that's what we are saying, that let's have a purposeful and meaningful, high-quality retirement where you don't have stress. You're not knocking on your doors of your children, of your former colleagues to bail you out of a situation, but you have planned your retirement and you're comfortable. And also the beauty of it, in retirement, usually our lifestyle tends to, we are not as extravagant. We've seen it all. So you're not buying the clothes that we bought in the second phase of our life. You're not changing cars. Many of us, you'll end up with that car, you're comfortable in your old car, and it doesn't matter what per se. And so that takes me to the last ball, money. Closing the leaking taps. So we need to be very frugal in managing our lifestyle and the lifestyle of those who depend on us. And so we have to take tough decisions, because at the end of the day, those leaking taps, I call them leaking taps, you know, the lifestyle of your children and maybe even your lifestyle, some things need to change. The way you spend, so you revisit what you spend. And so when you're doing that assessment of your expenditure, it points to your lifestyle. If you've been, it's good to take holidays, but maybe you're taking too many holidays. So you need to cut down on that, because what are we doing? We want to stretch the longevity of our funds. We want to make sure that whatever I have invested and that I have as I go into retirement should stretch for 30 years. So our planning horizon in retirement is 30 years. It's not 5 years. We have another 30 years ahead of us. And so it should be, what decisions can I make to make sure I am closing leaking taps? All these dependents that have been coming, the entire village that have been taken care of, it is time to go back and say, do I have capacity to take care of all these people that have been taken care? No. And so you make certain decisions. You need to change your lifestyle. If you've been forming a new family, every 2 years you have a new family, you need to check that, because all that is a leaking tap eating into what you have worked hard to save for a comfortable retirement. And so the side hustle, and I think this is the time for us, again, side hustle, it's really about putting purpose into your life. I want to encourage each one of us. God has placed in each one of us a purpose, has given us gifting. We have skills, we have talents that we have. What talent is it that you have that you can now engage in retirement? This will help you to put purpose into your life. It will cut across those 4 balls. When you have your side hustle that is tied to your passion, to your talent, to the thing you enjoy doing, it will keep you engaged, so it gives purpose. It keeps you happy and healthy, and therefore you're stress-free because you're meeting people as you're serving and you're enjoying, but also it will put money into your pocket. And so it adds to your bottom line in retirement. And so my question to you, what is it that you're doing? In addition to, when I talked about diversifying your investment portfolio, because you can have your money you have in unit trust funds, you probably have some bonds, you bought some government bonds and some money coming in there, and probably you have some real estate. Now, all those are sources of money. However, they don't address the purpose. And that's why in retirement, as we look at all that, you must look at what is it that I can do that engages me on a day-to-day, but also brings in some money, as it allows me to relate with my networks, to connect with people, and have a high-quality life. And so the hustle, what is your side hustle? What you see on the screen is my side hustle. I love to use my hands. I do a lot of gardening, so I sell plants, I sell garden furniture. I have people who make, I outsource, I have people who make them. But most importantly, I have my own cottage industry. I do fashion and design. So I love to do tailoring. So that is me cutting. Sitting there is one of my workers who does the overlooking. And this is something, for now I'm in employment, but this is my weekend hustle. So today, actually, when Ronald asked me to speak, I said, Ronald, you know what this means to me? It means that the half of my morning, I haven't attended to my tailoring business. So it puts money on the table. It picks my bills. It helps me pay all my workers. My workers are paid off this small business, this side hustle of mine, but it keeps me engaged. I am so engaged because now I'm in emptiness. The kids are not at home. However, I am so busy. There's no time to be bored and say, what am I doing with time? I am totally engaged, but also my customers come. So Saturday, this afternoon, they will be coming in to pick their clothes. So Saturday, Sunday, I am fully engaged. So I have purpose. It is something I enjoy doing. And I am looking forward to retirement because I have diversified my portfolio. I have saved it. I have bought bonds. I have shares in different companies. I'm in real estate as well. I have rental income. But most importantly for me, this is my excitement, my side hustle that keeps me engaged. I sit on that sewing machine and I just listen to my music as I am sewing away. My friends come, we laugh, we share a cup of tea, and life is just so good. So what am I saying as I end? Retirement, to enjoy, to manage. As you manage your finances, you need to balance. It's not just about finances. It is managing your health. It is managing your networks, your relationships, but most importantly, managing your purpose. When you have all the 4 connected, you will enjoy your retirement and you will reach that full age that you have asked God to reach you, and life will be good and those around you too will be good. So I bring this to an end and say thank you so much for listening, and I will take your questions if there are any comments. Over to you, Christina. Thank you. Did I lose you, ladies and gentlemen? I finished my submission.
Just waiting for. I think what I'll do in the meantime is read out the first remark or question from Miss Ninsima, which says, how do we really make our families adjust?
Okay, how to make families adjust, eh? So do you want me to respond to that, or I
Please
take
do.
other
I think while we wait for others to fill up.
Okay, yes, so thank you for that question, Nisima. How do we make our families adjust? Yeah, and so the starting point is financial literacy should be a common conversation in our families right from the start. Now, for me, that is something I pick and I have that conversation with my children. They are aware of this life cycle, the 3 phases in life. And so when we introduce this to our families earlier, even our young children, for them to be aware of the 3 phases in life, it helps them also to prepare and know and take responsibility earlier than later of their own destinies. Because what happens is we tend to take control of our children's destinies. And so we are doing all these things for them, but our children are not involved. And so what am I saying? We need to involve our children earlier in understanding money and learning how to keep money and then learning how to grow money much earlier when they are still in school. Then secondly, we need to have open conversations in our families about money. Unfortunately, in families, money talks are not common. Around the table, we eat food, we will talk about everything else, but we don't talk about finances. And so it should be that our families should know where we are at, and from our projections, this is where we are heading, retirement is coming, these are likely changes. And so we begin to involve our families, our children, so that they also are aware of what stage we are, how we are doing financially, what are some of the challenges we are having as family. These should be conversations around the table so that there are no surprises. But what happens usually, we've had many cases where finances are not discussed. The husband is quiet about his finances. The wife is quiet about her finances. The children have no idea what is coming. And so nobody is prepared. And then suddenly the man, retirement has come. He doesn't even declare to the family that the job has ended. And actually, this is what we have, and we need to make the adjustment. So for me, I think it is communication, communication, communication. Start early, build relationships with your family, your wife, your husband, and children, and let the conversation roll, and everybody knows. When we make a big win, we celebrate as a family. When we have a ditch in our finances, the family is aware and they know. Because human beings, we understand. Once you communicate, even these children will understand to say, you know what, things are a little tough, and so we may need to make some tough decisions. When we're okay, we took you to international schools, but I think that going forward for university, we are going to have to make some changes. And so we want to prepare you mentally to say that we will be looking at local universities. It may be hard initially, but they will understand, because all along the communication was consistent. The family was aware of what was going on. And so there are no surprises. We deal with the surprises, we communicate. I think that's what I would want to share about how to make our families adjust. Human beings by nature, we are flexible, by the way, we can adjust, but it is how we communicate, how we prepare our families, and be honest conversation. So sometimes we like to keep up appearances, and so you're not telling the truth. And so we need to be honest as we communicate with our families, our financial situations. Okay, any other question?
I think many people have appreciated your presentation, and some are requesting for the slides, which I think will be made available.
Yes.
Is
yes,
that okay?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. May I ask something? My hand is up.
Is that Betty? You may, please.
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Madam Rose.
Yes.
The session has been very, very informative, inspiring, and comprehensive. My question is about our partners. as I plan for my retirement, how do I involve my partner? Because we may have different interests. And if we are in retirement, how do we handle the finances? Because, like for me, I'm interested in having a tailoring business, maybe putting up a restaurant, and also in plants. And for him, he's interested in farming. He's cattle keeping, coffee, and other crops. So how do we balance the two? His is mainly rural based, and me, I target the urban market. So how do we balance the two? How do you involve your partner in your retirement plans and the programs? Thank you very much.
Yeah. And so usually, I think that my own take on this is that how you relate, how you behave in retirement is a reflection, is a mirror of how you related, how you behaved in phase 2. That phase of, the productive stage between 23, from the time you got married, 23 to 55. So a lot of how you related then will flow into how you relate in your retirement. And so if in a family it was that each one did their own thing, your passion was farming, I did my own, and that's how it was. And then you'll find that this will then carry on into retirement. And I think it's okay that your passion is in farming, mine is in tailoring, so it's okay. But we need to also realize that in retirement now, companionship is very important. It's no longer, we're not so much driving money. We are doing the things we are doing now in retirement to really put purpose. It's not so much money, it is relationships. And so when you talk about building the networks, it's also building the family ties and relationships. And so then the decision is for the both of you to sit down and say, how do we balance? How do we meet each other halfway? Yes, my passion is tailoring, and therefore I'm urban based. And probably you have a home in the urban area, but at the same time, you also have a home in the rural area. And so then the husband says, for me, mine is farming. I think that it's still okay for each one to pursue that which they like, but then you must agree then at what point do we converge? So it is really a conversation and say, me, this is what I want to do. Him, that's what we want to do. So we can agree and say, maybe I will be here during the weekend, I come to the village, and then we, so, but it shouldn't be that, now you go village, me, I'm urban based. There, you're going to then destroy the very thing that you need, that is at the heart of your retirement, which is companionship and relationship. So I think that you can be able to strike a balance. I also know many friends who have a similar thing. The husbands are into farming, they have their animals and so they go so much to the village, but they still maintain their urban presence. And so the husband will be Monday to Friday, he's in the village, but weekend he comes back to town because the wife is running a business here or something like that. So I think that you don't have to abandon that which you're passionate about, because your purpose is tied to what I enjoy doing. And so you shouldn't lose that identity or sacrifice it and say, now, okay, if it's village, let's all go to the village. But we should be mindful of drawing towards convergence, because in retirement, there are also 2 phases. Remember, in our retirement, there's that other stage from 55 to about 70. You're still energetic, you're still investing, you're still saving. But when we now, from 75, the other side, there we need each other. And so it should be that we work towards that convergence, that at 75, we've now agreed either we are going to live in the rural area or we are going to be in the urban area most of our time, but we must be together. So the health things and everything, because at the end of the day, we are there to take care of one another, you and your spouse. And so we should not lose sight of that, even as we pursue these other passions that we have in the first phase. So break your retirement into 2 phases. First phase, it's okay. Second phase, I think you need to draw closer and make sure that you're together supporting each other. And maybe by then we are now using walking sticks, who knows, but you need to be there to support each other and just, and age gracefully as we move towards the exit point. I hope that throws some light on your dilemma.
Yes, Thanks so much.
I'll bring in another question related somewhat to that one from Ms. Mirembe, which says, how do you plan with a spouse who has other spouses? And then I'll bring in Mr. Opio after that.
Yeah. Yes, I relate with that question. How do you plan with a spouse who has other spouses? That is a real dilemma that many women are dealing with. Again, I will take back to this second phase. So depends on what happens in second phase. Because if in second phase it is clear that the priority of the spouse is to start different families, and probably they even give probably more attention to those families than yourself. At that point, you must then realize and take responsibility, because you could easily find yourself in a victim mentality or dilemma to say, I can't do much now, I can't save, I can't invest because my husband has decided. At that point, you must realize, what is it that I can do for myself? Because your desire would have been to have you work together, but the reality is you can't work together because the person has different interests. And so I think that at that point you make a decision to say, I will continue what I have been doing. I will continue to save alone, I will invest alone, but keep the communication with the spouse. Let him know and invite him into what you're doing if he is interested. And so you invest, because remember, at the end of the day, you as a person, even though you are family, you as a person, you have your passions, you have your responsibilities. When it comes to dependence, you have your own dependence. When it comes to ambitions, you also have your own ambitions. So for me, I think that you go on regardless of what is happening. Continue investing, plan for your retirement, and engage the other partner. If they are willing, they will join you. But I can promise you, time will come, they will come back to you. And so make sure that when they come back, they find you still strong and having invested and prepared for your retirement. So let's not hold back. Let us not use that as an excuse. So it's again mindset. You can end up with, I talked about the fear mindset, but there could be also this victim mindset, and start blaming your husband for your failure to prepare for retirement. My retirement is my personal responsibility. And then with my spouse, it becomes a collective responsibility. And so if the collective is not working, the personal must still work. So you still are fully responsible for your retirement. So girl, go ahead, invest, save, plan. And if you have your children, involve them, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to come to take care of you. You have to take care of yourself. Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Connie asks, how helpful are circles, saving groups, or these cash rounds we get with individuals?
Sorry, how help is what?
How helpful are the circles,
Yes.
saving groups, or these cash rounds we get with individuals?
Mm-hmm. I think that that is so important, because like I said, one of the important things that we need to, the 5 aspects of finance, you have to look at income, you have to look at spending, you have to look at saving, and you have to look at investing. For me, those are the 4 aspects of finance. And so saving is very, very important. And sometimes on our own, we are not able to save enough, or even to save at all, because when we make our personal income statement, we find that our expenditure is so big, and so it's hard for us. You don't have the discipline. And so joining savings groups is a very powerful, and I encourage it. Get like-minded friends, or join a circle, depending on your level of income, but also depending on the networks that you have. Those cash rounds, those are all very good vehicles of saving. However, the challenge we have seen in many of these groups, people save for consumption. Remember, I said that our mindset, we are wired from the time we are born. Social programming, we are programmed to consume. And so by default, we are consumers. And so you find that there are many people who save, and then they save with no purpose. So the saving must be with a purpose. What are you saving for? I am saving to buy a bicycle. So even when I join a savings group, I join it, but I have a purpose that I am joining, that within the next 12 months or 24 months, I want to buy a bicycle. I want to buy a motorcycle, a boda. So that purpose is what will make your saving meaningful. That this saving, even when the group splits it at the end of the year, you take yours and it is towards a certain investment. So what am I saying? That these savings groups are good, but the purpose, your purpose of joining that saving group must be very clear, that I am saving to invest. And so each time you save and you have no purpose, you are going to draw that money and you will consume it, because that is our default. We are consumptive by nature, okay? So I encourage you, yes, join. Personally, I tried to join savings groups, but the challenge I had, if you don't have a shared purpose, it can also be a problem. So what did I do? With a few friends of mine, colleagues, including Ronald, we decided to form our small savings group, and ours was purposeful. We said we want to get, that's how we ventured into real estate, buying land. Because on my own, I didn't have enough resources. That was many years back. I didn't have enough money on my own to buy the kind of land we would have wanted. And so you join others. And so I encourage us, even within this all-purpose group, get into smaller groups of people that are like-minded. And so you say, let us come together and get into now buying of land. So we pool money, and instead of to raise 100 million, 5 of us each one gives 20, because on your own, you won't raise 100. But the 20 comes in faster. And so together you put that money and you invest and buy this land. And then you speculate and then subdivide the land and sell off before you knew it. So we did that. And so for like 2 years, we would buy, and then began selling off. And then after some time, each one of us now had raised enough to go it alone. And so then each one of us said, bye. And so we then continued individually. But that came from the power of collective saving. So it is important, but you must define your purpose. And that purpose is what drives now the behavior, the discipline, and, getting as much as possible. Because what happens sometimes in some of these groups, they set a small minimum and they say, okay, each one save 10. When will that money accumulate? So you save 10, and yet you know that you have the capacity to save 100,000. But now, because the group has said 10, so you find yourself limiting yourself, and then so you spend the 90, and yet that 90 could have gone. And that's why, for me, I think you get those with like-minded, same income level, same, and so you say, now for us, let us stretch. We set stretch goals, 7 goals, and say, let's say, can we push and say 150,000 per month? And so you find you're sacrificing, it gets you back to look at your expenditure and say, what can I cut out? Because I must raise 150. And so the bigger amount comes together, you save, and then you have a purpose, and you go for it. So it is a good thing, but it must have purpose, and it must have people of like minds, and it must have a sacrificial element. So these go around sometimes, these cash rounds and some of these groups, it is small money which will not make a difference. Because remember, we are saving for investment for our retirement, okay? Thank you.
I've got a question here, unidentified, on an iPhone, which says, how did you get rid of your elder children from your home and allow them to start life?
Yes, now I refer to those children as the economic patients, economic outpatients. Now, many of us have fallen victim, parents. I know that our generation, many of us struggled in life. We didn't have the basics in life as we went through school. We had a hard time. But that hard time built in us a certain resilience, right? A certain grit. And so now, because of that experience, ironically, we say God has blessed us. God has blessed me. I have better than what my parents could give me. And so we then end up, we give our children the best. And so we push our children, we handle them a bit with kid gloves. And we don't want our children to suffer the way we suffered. And that in itself is a problem. So what do? The children finish, you keep them at home, push them out, have a conversation. When they enter university, you pair them and say, you know what? children, you are now adults. And when you finish university, you are going to now be responsible. So find a job or use your talent. So we encourage our children, even when they are still in school, to start using their talents. Side hustles. The side hustle conversation is not just for us working class. Our children in university, because they have a community in university. What problems are you solving in university? So we introduce this entrepreneurship early to our children. You know, my son, when he was going to university, I said, what can you do? So in his Essex VAC, in addition to working in the family business, he had a skill. Baba, he cuts hair. So we bought him a set. In university, go make your pocket money. Raise money, because that's the money that is going to help you when you finish university. And so my young ones are in university, but my three top ones, the girls, those are good with their hands just like me. And so I encourage them. And so they formed their business. They do decoration business. They study out of this country. However, so they rent a house. And so when they finished, as they were progressing, we prepared them to say, now the next level, you are now going. So the big one began working. And so take on, so you reduce on your support for them. And so now you're taking on responsibility. And so you prepare them and they know it's their responsibility. So now they contribute and they pick their rent. And so we wean them off gradually. By the time the last one finished, they now take full responsibility. And so even before you have a job, you have this talent. So they do their deco, they have their side business, they do it as the three of them. And so whoever has time runs with it. So weekends, they're also busy doing decorative businesses, different business. They're in Canada, they are together and they are making their money. And so it is tough decisions, but also it is early conversations. Let us empower our children, send our children to get knowledge. During holiday, bring them. Enterprise Uganda, we have a lot of programs for young people as well to start to do business. We have, even for people who are working, the 23 to 54, we have programs that we call dual career. Start early and get comfortable with making having additional income streams, so that as you go, it is easier. So even for our children, when you're in university, you must be having some income. You must have a business that you've started. Whatever skill you're good at. One of my girls is also good at IT. She does a lot of, so she does flyers, she prints out all those things. She's very good at, social media, etc. So take advantage of that. Let our children understand, so that we prepare them and say, 3 years from now, this is how it's going to look like. You have to take care of yourselves. And so when you prepare and they see that you actually are living, but you support them, of course, don't throw them in the deep water. You support them, but you gradually wean them off. And so depending on your unique situation, have the conversation and let the child be part of it, and then they are out of the home. And so I also know parents who, what they do after graduation, they say, find a place and a shared rent. So you encourage them to share with their friends. So find your friends you studied with and get an apartment for 3 of you, wherever it is. And then you as a parent, I will pay for your first 3 months of rent. Once they're out of your home, they are out of your home. They will never come back. And you know what? When you throw a child into water, they will struggle, they'll fight, but they build the muscle to stay afloat. And that's what will happen. We need to throw our children into the deep end. So you say out of the home on graduation, that is our family policy. And when you're out there, so I'll give you the first 6 months, support you with rent. That will, each time there is necessity. Necessity is a mother of invention. When there's a necessity, when there's a need, our children are forced to think for themselves because they are now out of your hands. So parents on this platform, if some of you still have those economic outpatients, it is time to push these children out. Give them a life, whatever, for 3 to 6 months. Thereafter, you're on your own. You tell them you are on your own. You won't believe it. These children will go out, they will exert themselves because now they know there's no backup behind and they will succeed. Just like we succeeded as children who went through hard times. We didn't have support. We had to find the jobs. We took low jobs at the start. Some of our children now can't take low jobs. They despise the small things. They despise the small jobs because you have not had that conversation with them. And they know daddy is there, mommy is there. No, for us would say now, this home you're in, by the way, this is our home. And so it's not your home. Now that you're going to start working, it is not your home, but you can come and visit. You must now take full responsibility of your life. So we have a big role to play, and we are to blame for our children who fail to leave home. Thank you. By the way, for us, we even told our children, our responsibility to you is to give you the first degree, to be able to improve your chances of living, surviving in life. But beyond that, we have no obligation. It's not our obligation to take you through masters. So parents, why are you paying for taking your children for masters? You get it? I give you the first degree. I've taught you how to fish. Go fish and then pay for your masters. Our firstborn now has just enrolled. 5 years later, she's enrolled for her masters. She's paying for herself. And that is the trend. We will not eat into our retirement savings to pay for your masters. That is not right. Thank you.
Miss Jacqueline asks, if I have a question about personal finance, is it okay for me to share it on your email? Because I cannot share the question here since it involves mentioning personal information.
Absolutely. And yes, I've shared my details there. That phone line there is my WhatsApp line, the 07575. So you can send me a WhatsApp and we can chat on WhatsApp, but also you can use my email. So that is perfectly okay. That is what I do. That is what I do. I'm a business advisor, and like I said, I like to empower people. So I'll definitely be excited to have a further conversation with whoever wants to have their personal, see how I can guide you personally. But yes, please feel free. WhatsApp and email are both okay.
And sorry for that interruption. Mr. Pio asks, medical insurance is good, but most insurance companies do not take on first comers of age 70 and above. What options are there?
Was that a question on insurance?
Yes, medical insurance is good, but most insurance companies do not take on first comers of age 70 and above. What options are there?
Yes, and that is true. And you know what? Because insurers are also business people, and so they are managing their risk. They know that over 70, all kinds of diseases, show up, and so they know that if you insure that person at 70, you probably won't make money out of that insurance. And yes, and so ideally, we should take on these medical covers earlier. However, if you're already at 70, then the medical insurance may not be the option, but have your emergency fund. And so along one of your expenditure lines on your budget, you must put away money to cover your medical bills, because the insurance will actually not take you on after 70. But for those who are under 70, this is the time. You're 40, you're 50, this is the time to take on a medical insurance, a cover that will stretch beyond that. Because someone was saying, I think there are a few companies that can take over 70, but the premium is so prohibitive because you're high risk. At 70 plus, you're high risk. So the premium is so high and may eat into your retirement money. So rather than do that, you'd rather then put away in part of in your budget for your medical separate. But let's pick that lesson. I think we need to take this medical insurance cover much earlier. To be thinking about at 70 is a little late and can be very costly. Yeah, so that at least you're able to, because medical bills become such a big problem for many of us, especially as you go into phase 2 of retirement. And I want to emphasize that. So when you're in phase 1, things are still okay. Even the sicknesses are not that, they are happy there because you're actively engaged, you're working out, etc. It is the biggest challenge is that phase 2 into retirement. So we must plan for it. So let's have a conversation with some of the insurers, go to different insurance firms and see those who can accommodate, but prepare that you're going to pay a very high premium because you're high risk to your perceived high risk. So
Miss
set up
Florence,
your own medical cover, your own medical insurance fund, your own fund, set up your fund for insurance. Yeah, and how do you do that? Because in the different investment vehicles, you might dedicate one of them. Say, let me say some of you have bonds, you bought government bonds, or you have treasury bills, whatever it is you've invested in, or even in unit trust funds. Have a separate amount and say, this one, I am growing it. This particular one, I will not touch it. That is my medical insurance, So the different investment vehicles, dedicate one of your investment portfolios and say, this one is my medical cover. And so even as it grows, I'm not touching it. I only touch that one for medical. You get it? And then you decide maybe if you have rental, the rental income, that one is what finances my other. So let's assign our different investments to handle certain key aspects of our retirement. Medical being a very critical one. Then that way you have peace of mind, and you don't then bother our children to take care of us in our advanced age.
I'll bring another question from Ms. Florence. We are advised not to get into new ventures in retirement. If I have been a medical doctor working internationally, that for, I think INT, I assume is international, that for all my life, I am told it is not advisable to get into business, as an example, or farming, and yet you advise diversifying the investment portfolio. Many older people lose money trying to get into new ventures. What is your advice?
Yes, it is. That is true. There's truth in what you're saying. Now, they are very, like we said, there are different investment vehicles that you can use. And I'm encouraging that you diversify, right? That you have, say you have your money in bonds, some of you have in fixed deposits, some of you bought stocks, some of you have some other, maybe you've invested in some businesses, and so you have some equities coming, you have your pension. So all those are different vehicles. But what we are saying, let's assume that you are this doctor, you worked internationally, and so you have all those monies, you have your investments secured, and you're comfortable, you have a comfortable life. The other thing then that comes in is the purpose. So you can have all that money, but you need something that engages you, because remember, you still have your 30 years, you're still active. Phase one of your retirement, those next 20 years, you actually are still very active. Physically, mentally, you're active. And so the purpose I talked about. And so when we talk about business, you need to find something that you're passionate about, or something that you have a skill in, to keep you engaged. So your reason for going into that business, and it should not be that I'm going into there to begin to create yet another basket of of money or so, but your main motivation is purpose. So if I am a doctor, I can come and set up a simple medical facility, or offer my services in medical facilities here to keep me engaged. Remember that time, you have a lot of time now on your hands, and you must keep this time engaged. Otherwise, you can get into a depression. You have full bank accounts, you have a lot of money in your accounts, but you're depressed because purpose is not there. So what is it? So you start a business, and that's why the business you go into should, I don't encourage someone to go into very high risk and say to take a lot of money and invest and say, for instance, come and say, let me now construct a hospital, go take up a loan. So you buy land, you come with your retirement, buy land, go and to a bank, take up a loan to construct a private big hospital. To me, that is high risk, and I wouldn't encourage. However, the same person, doctor, can come and say, you know what, either I can join a consortium of doctors here and provide my service. And so if I'm a specialist, I'm an ENT specialist, I don't have to come and construct my own hospital. I can come and talk to the ENT facilities here and say, I can come in and give a few hours. So remember, you're managing your time, because in retirement, you have control. You don't want to go for an 8 to 5 job, but you can say, I can give you 3 days in a week. And so I still practice what I have done all my life. I am giving back. I have purpose, because it is purpose that gives us longevity in life, by the way. You know, when you have no purpose, you will die within no time, because you're idle, you're bored, you're depressed. And so the reason you need to find something to do which I have called business, is to keep you engaged. So it doesn't mean go start a huge investment. No. Go take loans. No. You need to manage your debt. This is not the time to go into loans. Actually, don't take debt when you enter retirement. It is not advisable. Please don't. So if the business, if your savings, your investments and savings can finance you to start a small business, a business that you're familiar, go for low-hanging fruits, go for something that fits into your passion, into the skills, because for all these years you've built experience, you have knowledge in certain areas. Those are the things you should do. But how you go into it should be small, humble, start small, start humble, and then keep engaged. Don't go into business to show people that, I used to live in America, so now I must come with a big thing. It will go down with you. We've seen many who have gone into such ventures and the loan just chokes them because they thought they would build that business in 5 years, and the business hasn't. They failed to do it, and the bank comes and takes away everything that you worked for. So let us be very cautious. Go into something to keep you engaged. That is your sole motivation. What purpose? What relevance? Because you must remain relevant. So what can I do to remain relevant and to make sure that every day I wake up to something? Because if you wake up and there is no reason for waking up, tomorrow you won't wake up. God will call you back. So we need to have a reason to stay around, and that's the purpose. So I hope that I answer your question. Don't go into new ventures that you have no idea about. Don't go into businesses that you don't know about. Don't put your money. Now, you will have people who are going to come and say, bring your money and put, these scams. We've heard about these Ponzi schemes, the scams. People have been scammed of their retirement monies because you're saying, me, I don't want to start this, I don't want to do business, but so-and-so says, I'm into poultry, bring your money and let's put into this business. You must understand it first before you put your money, because you will get scammed. So be wary of investing big into things that you have no experience in and into things that you don't understand. If I don't understand the business model, if I can't ask questions, don't put your money in there. And then careful to go into debt. Debt should not be on the table of your conversation as a person entering retirement. So please be very cautious, okay? But you must remain with purpose and you must remain relevant. And the relevance is what comes in with have something to do, find something to do that keeps you relevant, that gives you a reason to wake up and to smile and to be happy. Thank you.
I think there's a lot more, many more questions we haven't answered, but I'll let Brian ask his question and then we can wind up, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My hand was almost getting tired and I almost brought it down.
Sorry.
Well, this discussion is very timely for me as a person, and I appreciate. Forgive me for the talkback. I'm a visually impaired person. That's why there's a talkback on my phone.
Okay.
I want Miss Rose to speak to career people, especially in the aspect of entrepreneurship for them, because I believe that not everybody might have that gift in business. But how best can someone seize careers to turn them into an entrepreneur as opposed to an entrepreneur? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Brian, and thanks for actually joining into this conversation. Yeah, so personally, I don't believe that entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Actually, entrepreneurship can be learned. You can learn to be an entrepreneur, and so sometimes we exclude ourselves by saying, in my family there's no entrepreneur. I've seen people. I mean, I am too busy to even think of having a side hustle. No, you actually can learn to be an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship actually now is a career option like any other. I can choose to be an engineer. I can choose to be an entrepreneur. I can go via university and then still come and become an entrepreneur to build the entrepreneurship around that skill set. And so it is encouraged, and because no job except for a few jobs, very high paying job, but otherwise the 80%, actually 90% of the jobs that we do, you cannot survive on that job And that's why for us now, our gospel is the gospel of dual career. So I don't know whether that's what you want to call the entrepreneurship, dual career, that you can actually have that job of yours and then have a side hustle, have something that you can do after your working hours that brings an additional income stream. And because that salary alone cannot grow your wealth, you need to have alternative sources of income, and that's where entrepreneurship comes in. And so this thing of the side hustle, this thing of embracing, understanding business is for all of us. It is for all of us, regardless of your situation. It's for all of us. And so that's the message that I want to put forth, that entrepreneurship is for everyone, but you can enter it at different levels. Even when you're in employment, you still have, because your employer only pays for your 8 hours. The employer pays you from 8 to 5. Now, many of us in our mid-career stream life, we think that, we are striving to get this pay rise and promotion. And so we end up volunteering another 6 hours to our employer. He doesn't pay for it. And so 8 to 5 is what my contract reads. Why are you giving extra time consistently for an additional increment of maybe some $200? Yet, if you put those 6 hours that you have given to your donated free to your employer, if you put it to innovating and starting something in your house, in your backyard, using your skills, using your talent, using your passion, that thing can grow. And that's the thing that you carry into your retirement and becomes your mainstay. And so to have a comfortable retirement in terms of business, it is advised you start early. You start while you still have other options, understand this thing, make mistakes, get to understand it, and then go full blast into it in retirement. And that's why those who are saying it is not advisable, but it can also happen. It's not advisable to start thinking business when you're now going into retirement. You should start thinking business as you enter into employment. So that I have my 8 hours paid for, my extra hours are not for donation, they are for me. What can I do? The whole night, you can work the whole night, do your business, and the following morning, somebody else is doing the distribution because you're back into employment. So you work with somebody, maybe someone in your home who can do the distribution or even help with the production. So it is all mindset. Our mindset is wired that, in employment, and then the social programming. In employment, that's all. I have an 8 to 5 job, and I have this badge hanging on my neck, a badge that says Stanbic Bank. And, it's a source of pride, yes. But that badge alone can't sustain you, can't help you to build your retirement. You must have something else. So that's the message that I want to pass on to all of us here, that let's start early. That way you ease into retirement more comfortably, but also you grow your wealth faster when you have multiple income streams. So if you're on this call and you have one income stream, you have my number, you have my email, we can have a conversation on how you can build another income stream to supplement your current salary. But most importantly, entrepreneurs are made. So we at Enterprise Uganda, we make entrepreneurs. So you can enroll for our program. We have a 1-week training. It's called the Entrepreneurship Training Workshop. It is an incubation. It's a program where in 1 week, you actually identify and start a business. It may sound like a story, but you need to come and experience it. It is an awesome space to be. You are stretched to the limit. You are pushed to the wall, and you come out of there fighting, and you discover yourself and the power and potential in you. So many of us have a lot of potential that is sitting there nascent because nobody has tapped into it. And so we think, I can't do this. I'm not able to do this. I'm not wired for it. You are wired. We shall rewire you and make sure you're able to start your thing, your own business. And the beauty of it is that actually it is proven that people who excel in innovating and doing these other side hustles end up being better employees, because the same qualities that you use here are also the qualities needed by your business, by your employment. you're innovative, you're very flexible, you're swift, you're a quick decision maker, you have energy because you get it, and you're a multitasker. So those are qualities that are needed this side in your workspace. And so where are they nurtured? They are nurtured in your business. So having the entrepreneurship ability and skills are such a bonus for your employment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Rosemary. I would like, unfortunately, to bring this meeting to a close. We have learned a lot. I would urge all those who have participated and your friends and your children and your business partners to really think seriously on the fact Rosemary started with, that our thoughts shape our actions. If this is done systematically and very early on, you discover the potential you have, and you can plan, as Rosemary has taken us through at all stages of our employment. You can plan all those side hustles which can eventually take you into your old age. You manage your budget right from the word go, from the saving piggy banks we get as children to the CEOs and the retired CEOs. All of that depends on your thoughts. I've seen some members who think that everything is so negative in retirement. That is not correct. It's not 100% correct. We've seen people who have started even a business like infant training in their 70s. There is a lady who passed on, and one of the children really said that mom loved nursery teaching, and she started this business when she was 73. She actually died when she was still sitting in the office of her nursery, which was just up in the compound. Yes. The potential is there. It's a question of tapping it, growing it, and Enterprise Uganda is there to do all this for you. We've got the contact for Rosemary and Ronald. So the sky is really the limit. Thank you so much, Rosemary. You have really done us good. All of you who are not yet 60, there's a lot you can do. Those of you who are 60 and above, there's a lot. Our caregivers, there's a lot we have learned from Rosemary this morning. And we want to thank you and remind you, please, if you've not put your name and contact in the chat box, please do it before we close. And we shall see you again on the 29th of April with a different topic. But before then, look at our YouTube channel. There's been a lot on insurance, on financial literacy from as far back as 4 years ago. There's a lot you can pick from there. Please check on that YouTube and you have all your questions answered. Once again, thank you so much and have a beautiful weekend.
What's the name of the channel?
It's a Purposeful Aging.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Christina. I've enjoyed
the link has been in the chat box. I think Martha can put it there again. Thank you, Rosemary. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so my details are there, and please feel free to reach out. I would be willing to have a further conversation with whoever reaches out to me. Thank you.